What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This will make a previewing Thursday night's football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll be going position by position and telling you guys what to expect from each player and sort of which guys I think are worthy of being in your starting lineups. I did this last week, and I'll be doing this every single week going forward throughout the rest of the season. So just sort of a fun way to sort of get into the swing of things for football for the week. Good to just sort of break down each individual matchup and really dig into the details a little bit in terms of what we should expect. On Saturday morning, you guys will be getting my matchup breakdown video where I'll go through every single game across the entire football league and give you which players I think are worth starting and which players should be sat in all of those games as well. But this will be a Thursday night matchup. I think it's going to be a really fun matchup. I think we can see a lot of points in this one between the Vikings and the Eagles. We could see a couple bounce back performances from some guys who really didn't perform up to par in week one, and it's really excited to just get into week two and really, maybe push that overall underwhelming week one from fantasy football behind us. So yeah, with that, let's just get into the first position, which will be quarterback. Starting us off with the quarterbacks, I'm going to start off with Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to be a low-end quarterback one this week. Mac Jones performed extremely well against the Philadelphia Eagles last week, despite not really having any competent wide receivers. I do think there's a world that exists here where we see Kirk Cousins go for 302 in this game. I don't necessarily believe that he's going to perform as well as Mac Jones did from a yardage standpoint last week. Mac Jones got down 17-0 like 5 minutes into that game, and I don't know if the Vikings are going to be playing catch-up quite as much as what the Patriots found themselves doing last week, but there is plenty of opportunity here. I think this Eagles defense is going to take a bit of a step back, especially in the pass defense department. I don't think they're as elite in the secondary as they were last year after losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. James Bradbury is not going to play in this one as well, so we should expect the Vikings to be able to throw the ball pretty well all over the field this week, and I do think that Kirk Cousins is a nice low-end streaming option, and if you drafted him along with another quarterback, I think Kirk Cousins is probably the one that you're looking to start in week one. Week two, my bad. If Jalen Hurts, pretty easy. Obviously, you're going to start him. He's going to have a big week this week. I really do think he could finish the quarterback one on the week this week. Gainwell's going to be inactive, which means that the Eagles are going to have to lean even more heavily on Jalen Hurts to win this game. The Vikings defense allowed Baker Mayfield to be more than competent in week one. They're not a scary defense by any means. They're going to give up a lot of points, and I think you could pretty realistically expect over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns out of Jalen Hurts today. Next up, we've got the running back position, and I'll just sort of touch on the Eagles' running back position as a whole rather than going player by player here. This is just really a big mess, it seems like. I don't really expect any one of these guys to be reliable options in your fantasy lineup. Kenneth Gainwell is going to miss this game with his rib injury. He was the one that received 18 touches in week one. That's very concerning because now we've got DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott, each who had 2 touches in week one, and then Rashad Penny should be active for this game, and I would actually not be shocked at all if Rashad Penny ended up leading this team in touches. I think that in general, it's just safe to assume that somebody in this backfield will produce at a high level. There will probably be a touchdown or 2 scored by the running backs in this room, but I really have no idea who that's going to be. If I had to take a shot at one of them, it would be DeAndre Swift, just because he was active last week. He's definitely the most talented of these players and should be involved in the passing game. So if I have to pick one of them, I'd be picking DeAndre Swift, but I really would prefer to be avoiding all of these guys. If you're playing DFS or anything like that, I think you could take a shot on Rashad Penny or even Boston Scott if you want to. There's a ton of upside with this position, but it's not something that I want to be really trusting in my lineup in redraft right now. For the Vikings, we've got Alexander Mattison only here. He's likely going to see 15 to 20 opportunities in this one, similar to what we saw in week one for him. The Eagles' run defense is legit, though. They've got Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox in the middle. It's going to make it really difficult for teams in general over the course of the season to run the ball up the middle in the Philadelphia Eagles. Alexander Mattison doesn't really have that breakaway speed to really take things to the house from the outside either, so I think this could be another inefficient game for Alexander Mattison. You probably are going to need a score and a couple receptions for him to really perform at a high level, and I don't think that'd be really concerning for me about Alexander Mattison going forward. They've had 2 really tough matchups to start the season. I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of positions where they're going to be scoring a lot more against much more run-friendly defenses, and I think Alexander Mattison has a lot of better days ahead of him, but week 2 could be a little bit rough for him. I wouldn't expect too much out of him. He's not going to put up a really high-end fantasy performance unless he falls in the end zone once or twice, and I think that he could easily be the kind of guy that ends up on my buy low list next week, but I do still think you're starting Alexander Mattison. I think he's like a low-end running back 2 this week. Where you drafted him, you probably do need to start him, and unless you manage to do really well on waivers or have a couple later-round picks that turned out really well, I don't think I'd be really confident or comfortable benching Alexander Mattison in most leagues. So you're probably starting him, but just don't expect too much out of him this week. At the wide receiver position for the Philadelphia Eagles, this one's really easy. Every single week, you guys are going to start Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith was the one that came through with a pretty big game in week 1, although he only had 47 total receiving yards. The touchdowns sort of made it a much better performance than it looked like, but overall, the Eagles offense is going to score a lot of points this season. They're going to put up a lot of passing yards this week particularly, and I do want to play him, of course. A.J. Brown, same thing. Obviously, a bit of a down week for what we expect out of A.J. Brown in week 1, but I'm not worried about it at all. A.J. Brown probably gets in the end zone this week, and obviously could easily have 100-plus yards in this one as well. I do really think that we could see this game end up in a shootout. We could see a 25 to 30 points scored by each team. Easily could hit that 50 to 60 total points game this mark, and should be a lot of points scored, a lot of opportunity, and I want every single part of the Eagles passing game in my starting lineups. On top of that, for the Minnesota Vikings, obviously Justin Jefferson's a must start. He had 9 for 153 last week. Didn't get in the end zone. I bet he'll do that this week. Nothing to really worry about with Justin Jefferson. Don't want to spend too much time talking about him. He's obviously just a lock for your lineups. Jordan Addison, I think, is actually going to be a high-end wide receiver 3 this week. I fully expect him to pass Osborne in the depth chart this week or next week. I think it'll be sort of neutral this week, where we'll see him and Osborne run the same amount of routes, get the same number of snaps, and then we'll see that full takeover happen for Addison in week 3. Addison's just a really good player, and Justin Jefferson is going to get shadowed by Darius Slay in this one. With James Bradbury out, there's really no competent second cornerback in this Philadelphia Eagles secondary. Jordan Addison should run wild in this secondary and really have a high-end performance. I think I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him go for like 6 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown in this one. Addison's a guy that I definitely want to get in my lineup unless I have a really stacked wide receiver room. For outside of Addison, I think you can start KJ Osborne as like a really low-end flex play in deeper leagues. He's not someone I would be excited about. You'd probably need a touchdown for him to pan out, but in really deep leagues, you can look to him. I do think this could be a shootout, and it's not a bad passing offense to be a part of, but Osborne's not somebody that I really want to be starting in most of my leagues, obviously. And lastly, we've got the tight ends in this one. I think you're probably going to end up starting both of these tight ends. Dallas Goedert, I know he goosed you guys last week. He had 0 catches, and obviously that's a huge disappointment coming into the season with that. But their head coach, Nick Sirianni, was very vocal about how they need to be more vocal or more involved, more dedicated and more set in using Dallas Goedert in the offense. He's too good of a player for them to not integrate and make a focal point of, really. And this is really a great matchup for him. There's going to be a lot of points scored, a lot of passing yards thrown by Jalen Hurts, and I think Dallas Goedert gets to be a big part of that. On top of that, you guys know what they say about the squeaky wheel. He's going to get this squeaky wheel, gets the grease. I bet they start the game out with the target to Dallas Goedert, just sort of get him going. He's going to be a top 5 tight end the rest of the season. I'm still super excited about Dallas Goedert. I'm pretty much throwing all of week 1 out the window against a really tough Patriots defense in the range, to really gross weather game. Not something that I'm going to let concern me about the Eagles offense going forward. TJ Hawkinson, same thing. He's a must-start player. He had 9 targets in week 1, looked really good. Obviously, a lot of those targets were close to the line of scrimmage, and we didn't see as much, average depth of target is what we want to see, and he obviously didn't score, but he's got a good shot to score in this one. I think he'll be utilized down the field a little bit more as well, and he's obviously just going to have so many targets that you have to start him at the tight end position. He's a top 5 option as well the rest of the season, and you just have to start him. Don't really overthink that at all. So that'll do it for the Thursday night primer. I hope you guys enjoy watching this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Super excited for it. I'm really hoping that we can see a really high-end octane offenses. Really would love to see like 60 total points in this game and really just get the week off to a good start. So yeah, up next I'll be doing my starts of the week video where I'll go over every single game, do a whole complete positional by positional breakdown, tell you guys which guys I'm starting and which guys I'm sitting, and make sure that you guys know everything you guys need to know heading into week 2. On Sunday morning, I'll be doing my live stream 1 hour before the first games kick off, where I'll be going over last-minute injury updates, going over last-second start-sit questions that you guys might have, and just answering any last-minute questions you guys might have in the chat. So should be a lot of fun. Really fun making all these videos for you guys. It's been really cool to see the channel grow. We're over 800 subscribers, and if you want to be among the people that are getting access to all these videos as they come out, please do subscribe to the channel. There will be several videos coming out every single week throughout the course of the rest of the season. I'll be here all season long to help you guys win your leagues, and I really want to help as many of you guys do that as possible. So, been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.